What's up, Alex? It's Guys here, and today we're going to be talking about mailbox money, stacks of cash, quitting your job, and retiring early. You guessed it, I'm talking about owning rental properties. I'm the co-owner of TRE here in Austin, Texas, and we are a real estate company with our focus on helping as many people as possible make money in and on real estate. I've been investing in real estate for years now and own over 70 long-term rental units. That money doesn't go in my pocket though, it goes right back into owning more real estate. The strategy that I've learned, used, and perfected is exactly what you're going to learn about today. It is the BRRRR method. Over the last 2 weeks, I spilled a lot of beans, and you learned the ins and the outs of how to buy an investment property and then rehab it. The B and the first R. You've been a sponge and you soaked up a ton of info, and now it's time to absorb some more. But today we're moving on to the next R, rent. Your property is looking beautiful and it's time to get some good tenants in there so you can have some cash flow. Renting out your property will generate monthly income that will cover the costs associated with owning that property. And hey, if you get a good enough deal, you may be able to pocket some cash every single month. Renting out the property is also a big factor when it comes to refinancing your property, but we'll save that for our fourth and final video in this series. So be sure to tune in next week for that. So today's video sounds pretty cut and dry, right? I know what you're thinking. Just put a for lease sign in the yard and call it a day. Well, not so fast. That's a big oversimplification, and I'm not sure why you'd think that. And you're probably saying, I wasn't thinking that. Stop putting words in my mouth, Alex. And all I'm trying to say is that I hate it when we fight like this. Like I said, I own quite a few rentals and I've learned some tough lessons along the way. So I have some extremely valuable advice for you and the steps to take when you get to this stage of owning your property. But before I tell all, I need you to click the like button. The YouTube algorithm thanks you, and I do as well. Okay, now let's dive in and get after it. The first step is to find a good property manager and a good listing agent. Sometimes they may be the same person. When it comes to hiring a property manager, this is a must in my opinion. Managing a property yourself is a big waste of time. Property managers will save your sanity. Do you want to get a call at 2 a.m. to fix a clogged toilet? Do you want to hear all the sob stories about why the rent is late? Do you want to fill out 1099s every tax season? I certainly don't, and I don't think you do either. Property managers are one of the best assets of your investing team. They will oversee and manage the daily operations of your property. The property manager acts on behalf of you, the owner, to preserve the value of the property while generating income. As a qualified business expense, hiring a property manager can be tax deductible for the owners of investment properties. The minimal cost of a property manager is so worth it. On average, they only charge you about 7 to 10% of the monthly income. It's never out of pocket. They only take a percent from the rent. So if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. But there are good and not so good property managers. One of the biggest pieces of advice I can give here is to take a look at their reviews online. People love to complain about their managers. So if there's something negative, you'll be able to find it pretty easily. Interview multiple and find one that you feel comfortable working with. Ask around to your family and friends for referrals. And hey, if you found an investor-friendly realtor like I suggested in the first video of this series, then they will have a trusted manager for you. Find one that you like working with and is responsive. Communication is probably the most important aspect of a good relationship with a property manager, or anyone really. Communication is probably the most important aspect of a good relationship with a property manager, or anyone really. Either your manager or your realtor will handle the leasing. Since you rehab the property and it looks beautiful, the curb appeal will be a big attraction. Whoever is handling leasing will need to get professional photos taken, put a sign in the yard, and list your property on the MLS. Rentals don't usually need an open house, but it couldn't hurt. When deciding the rental rate, you'll need to go back to all of the comps that you pulled when you were looking to buy this property. Maybe in the time that it took to do the rehab, the market has gone up. Don't be afraid to push the market a bit and price it at the top. Heck, it's a newly remodeled home, so you have the ground to ask for more. But if it sits too long, don't be afraid to reduce that asking price on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. You'll need to know how much to charge by calculating the cost of owning this property. The idea here is to have the rent cover your mortgage and expenses. Determine the cost of each of these things and account for maintenance and repairs. A property manager will usually have a holdback amount for maintenance so that they don't have to bother you about approval on every single little repair. And since you just rehabbed this property, there shouldn't be much or any repairs in the immediate future, but it's good to calculate this just in case. Better safe than sorry. The easiest rule that we all know about is the 1% rule. If the rent is 1% of the cost of the property, then you can safely assume that the rent will cover all the expenses that come with owning the property and you'll rake in some cash flow. Another rule to help you is the 50% rule. The 50% rule states that you should estimate your operating expenses to be 50% of the gross rental income, sometimes referred to as an expense ratio of 50%. This rule is simply based on real estate investor experience over time. So if a rental property makes $30,000 per year in gross rents, you should assume that $15,000 of that will go towards expenses, not including your mortgage payment. We'll speak about this in greater detail later, but remember, you're probably in a hard money loan right now, so you'll need to refinance soon and the mortgage payment will change. So account for the current expected mortgage when running all your numbers. Lenders sometimes want to see 6 to 12 months of income from that property before they'll do the refinance. It makes the banks feel a little bit more comfortable. Okay, so you have a tenant moving into your property. What do you do now? Check in on them all the time? Micromanage your property manager? No. None of that is a good idea. In fact, it's a really bad idea. However, there are some things you can do to make your tenant feel more at home. When they move in, provide a welcome bag with some goodies like toothbrush, shampoo, laundry detergent, or toilet paper. These are all things that we forget about when we're packing up to move. Another way to make your tenants happy is to send them a card during the holidays. These are absolutely not necessary, but going above and beyond will mean a lot to your tenants. And they'll remember these small gestures when it comes time to renew. When it comes time to renew, if they're good tenants, you will absolutely want them to re-sign. Your property manager would have done a thorough background check on these tenants, so they should be treating the property with love, respect, and they should be paying on time every month. So keeping them around is best. Vacancy is the highest cost to landlords. Think about it. Every day that your property sits vacant is money that you could be making that you aren't. Plus, you'll have to do a make ready to get new tenants, which will include paint touch-ups, cleaning, etc. I'm sure you have a deposit from the old tenants for that stuff, but again, time is money. And on top of that, you're going to have to pay another leasing fee to find new tenants. Now, if you own a property for a decent amount of time, you will have turnover. That's inevitable. But you want to avoid it if at all possible. And when it does come time to renew, don't get greedy and jack up the price of rent. Stay in line with market, and if you do decide to increase, I say about $25 to $50 of an increase is reasonable. If you ask for too much, you may offend your tenants and drive them away. Be good to your tenants and they'll be good to you. And again, this all goes back to having a top-notch property manager. Now that you have the property rehabbed and rented, it's time to get your money back, and then some. I'm talking about the sweet, sweet cash out refinance. Tune in next week to learn all about the refinance process. Next week, I'm gonna list out the best advice and tips when it comes to refinance your property and make sure you're doing it the right way. So be sure to subscribe, turn on that bell notification so that you can watch the video as soon as it drops. Wait, before you click away, if you have any questions about this video or the videos to come, I want you to let me know in the comment section below. I promise I'll personally respond to every single comment we get. And check us out on Instagram and TikTok. Those links are below. Thanks again for watching today, and I'll see you next week.